The pitches are getting slower, the totals are getting lower, the chases are getting closer, and the tension keeps rising. These are the kind of games that we want to watch. Welcome to Uninvited Opinions, and this is another episode of End of Days Play. Nax, as I said earlier, I'm liking the games that we're now starting to see in the tournament. The games are getting closer. We're finding that teams are being more competitive now, and it makes for fascinating viewing.
Yesterday, when we were talking about table standings and how we were anticipating that things could just suddenly scramble up in the second half, and what a fantastic opening it has been for the second half of the tournament. As a Chennai fan, everybody would now begin raising their hopes again.
These are the kind of pitches for which the Chennai squad was actually assembled. And they've got a number of, if they don't have any out-and-out pace bowlers, but they've got a number of spinners in the squad. They've also got, fast medium bowlers who can, bowl cutters very effectively. Have got very good slow balls. They would enjoy playing on these pitches going into the rest of the tournament. But before we get into the bowling side of things, I think we've got to talk about the batting first. Chennai did what I'd been asking for a few games now. They sent Sam Curran up to open. He's been their in-form hitter. And where they've been struggling all along in this tournament is lacking impetus at the beginning of their batting effort, whether it was batting first or chasing. And interestingly, this is the first time they've actually batted first in the entire tournament. With Sam Curran opening, that gave the innings the right kind of impetus. They got a steady foundation, and that's what they exactly needed. They didn't go bang bang right at the top. They were maintaining a healthy run rate of 7.5, and then as the innings progressed. Once Sam Curran got out, Raidu and Watson put on a very good partnership, and then combined with some late order hitting by Jadeja and Dhoni, it got them to what I thought was actually just a par score, considering it was Dubai. But in the end, it proved a little too much, even for the Sunriser batsmen.
This is exactly what Sam Curran and Jadeja have been doing in the past few games, and the rest of the Chennai batters haven't quite managed to do, which is to set the pace. Or not necessarily always looking for quick runs, but at least show some purpose while you are at the crease. So there was a steady momentum right through the innings. Sam Curran obviously did a good job at the top, but even following up Raidu and Watson, they steadied the ship after the 2 wickets, but that did not necessarily bog them down. So they were always looking out for those gaps, running those twos, and then when they were actually on the lookout for a boundary, they did get a 4 or a 6. Even Rashid Khan was taken for a few sixes today. So Chennai always had the purpose right through the innings, and that was nicely capped up by the late order blows by Dhoni, and a very intelligent cameo by Ravindra Jadeja. So a couple of those steers through the short third man gap was very pleasing to see. It was not necessarily, using the dimensions of the field, the close boundary. All those factors were taken into account before launching into a big hit or steering. So it was a calculated innings, but yet, in spite of all their efforts, I think Sunrisers always kept them in check, and that's why, as you said, what they got was necessarily just a par score. They never ran away with the total, and therefore the game remained interesting for through the second innings as well.
Absolutely, and I think going into the break, Sunrisers would have thought that they actually had their bowlers did a good job. Rashid Khan was dependable as always, although he conceded a few more runs than what he's done in the past in the recent games. Shahbaz Nadeem, someone you wanted in the playing 11, came in. He did a good job as well. Sandeep Sharma was fantastic with the ball up front, and he was very economical, took a couple of key wickets as well. So it was a par score. Sunrisers, although went into this game a batsman short, they swapped out Abhishek Sharma for Shahbaz Nadeem. And even though Abhishek Sharma has been classed as an all-rounder, he has played useful knocks for them down the order. And I think that showed up in the chase, because it's not the kind of wicket that Warner and Bairstow would want to bat on. They're both batsmen who like the ball coming onto the bat. This wasn't that kind of a wicket. The Chennai bowlers were also quite good up front. They didn't give them a lot of room to play with. I thought they had a decent start. It wasn't all that bad, but then they lost a couple of wickets quickly, and then that sort of pulled down their chase. And once the spinners came on, I think they dragged it back even further.
Something that I think is now no longer a secret for anyone. The pitches are slow, the pitches are tiring, the spinners are going to take the center stage going forward. So it makes all the more sense to make the best use of the power play as much as possible. And it wasn't that the bowlers from the Chennai side were bowling cutters in the power play. They were bowling seam up. So whatever pace that on offer was on offer during the power plays. And I felt either CSK had a very good measure of the bowling in terms of the line and length that they needed to hit, or that Sunrisers actually lost the plot a little bit by not going hard up front because they knew what was to follow. Chennai's lineup was filled up with all these spinners and the experienced death bowlers in Bravo and Shardul Thakur. Uh, so I thought they could have gone a little harder, at least for the first phase when there was pace on offer. And I believe for that reason, Sam Curran's opening burst was also just as impressive as his opening with the bat. And then once Warner got out, I thought it was a very silly error of judgment on behalf of Manish Pandey to actually throw away his wicket in the form of a run out, knowing that the batting was actually slightly lean today. So had he stayed a little longer, then that would have given a little bit more stability. But then I felt Kane Williamson, with his quality, actually kept us interested in the chase right till the end. Uh, we've been asking all this while that IPL, being the premium T20 tournament around the world, is not necessarily living up to its reputation with the quality of cricket it is producing. I had no such complaints today. There was plenty of quality on offer. It was fascinating to see how Williamson, in spite of not known for his big hitting, and in spite of a mountain in front of him in terms of the asking rate, was still trying to maneuver the field, use the angles, use the pace, play with the psyche of the bowler. It was an absolute cat and mouse game. So it was beautiful cricket all along, and there was a lot of skill on display, and it meant for very interesting viewing.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure watching Williamson. He maneuvers the field so well. But unfortunately, I think he had too much to do today. And I think Dhoni was quite spot on with the way he utilized his bowlers today. It was a collective bowling effort. No single person sort of stood out. Everyone chipped in. Everyone kept it tight. And except for probably one poor over from Karan Sharma in the 18th over, which kept the game interesting, I think Chennai would be very pleased with today's bowling effort. So who's your pick for the man of the match then?
You said it was a all-round bowling effort, and I think even in batting, the scorecard reflects that even there was no standout contribution. It was a contribution right through the lineup. So they went with Jadeja, but I thought in my books, Sam Curran did the more difficult part, contributing in the power play both with the bat and with the ball. So I felt it should have been Sam Curran.
Absolutely. He was my choice for the MVP. He continues to prove why he was my choice. I absolutely will love watching him bat. He's got a lot of spunk. That's the word that I associate with him. And he proved why he's so highly rated by the CSK franchise. Looking ahead at tomorrow's game, we've got a game between the Delhi Capitals and the Rajasthan Royals to be played again at Dubai. Rajasthan are coming off a fantastic win against Sunrisers, where they won in the last over. Thanks to the stand between Rahul Tewatia and Riyan Parag. Delhi Capitals coming off a loss against the Mumbai Indians. Who do you think is going to win tomorrow?
There's just a little bit more to add there as well. Delhi has got their team combination all haywire now because of Rishabh Pant's injury. So it's now it's almost like they need to rediscover a new combination, and that needs to click right away, because now it's almost like Rajasthan have tasted victory after so many defeats, so they would want to get the momentum going. So it's not going to be. I would have on a normal day, I would have said Delhi hands down. But I think this has now become very interesting. I would still lean slightly towards Delhi though.
I agree, but you can't put anything past Rajasthan at this point in time. They've got that man Rahul Tewatia who is pulling out miracles this season. So let's just hope that it's another interesting game to watch tomorrow. We've also been hearing about the transfer window being open, which officially started today and continues for 5 days. Unfortunately, we've not seen a lot of transfer activity happening at this point in time, despite the fact that teams are allowed to sign even capped players who have played less than 2 games for their franchise this season. No news at all on the first day.
Two things: either each of the franchise is very happy with the squad that they've got, and so there is no room for letting anyone go or looking out for someone that the other franchise are in a position to let go. But other than that, I think what we discussed prior to the show, the fact that if they are to bring in anyone outside of the squads available, that would bring in again a 6 or 10 day quarantine period into the Emirates. So that would make them virtually unavailable for most of the tournaments. So it's not worth going for anyone outside of the available squads. And therefore, I feel it is logical that no team has so far approached for any of those transfers.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if there's any activity in the next 4 days. We'll keep you updated. That's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel to keep more videos coming your way. And as always, stay tuned for another episode tomorrow. Until then, good night and see you tomorrow.